various topics such as TB, cancer epidemiology, and many more. So, without further ado, let's begin with the event. So, I would like to call our director Rasok Aradhya Gupta for further details.
All right, so good evening, everyone. And I would like to thank you all for joining us for our research bootcamp initiative. And we just want some preliminary information from you all. And I'll launch a poll for that on your screens. And it'll be regarding your college and prof. So kindly answer accordingly. Just a minute. Okay, so I guess you have your polls on your screens. Kindly answer accordingly. Okay, since most of you have answered the poll, so I'll just end it. All right. You'll be getting some similar polls in the session also regarding the topic that we are discussing today. So let's begin with our session today. And I would like to invite one of my favorite teachers and my mentor, Dr. Bhavna Saini, who is our esteemed speaker for this first session. So let's begin with that. Thank you so much for joining, everyone.
Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. Please let me know if the screen is shared and you can see it.
Yes,
Is it
ma'am.
visible?
It's visible.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you all here. And it's going to be a 10-week journey. We are going to go from the scratch. Aradhya, I think we were supposed to do another poll as to how many students belong to which prof. Is that
Yes, ma'am.
new?
Yes, ma'am. I have conducted that poll as well.
I would just like to know how many students belong to which prof so that I know how, in what detail I have to teach. What is
Sure,
the
ma'am.
level?
I'll just share the results for
Yeah,
that,
sure.
ma'am.
Please do.
Can you see the results? You can just scroll down. The first one is showing the name of your
Yeah.
college, and the second one is for the
Yes.
year of
I can now see it. I did not scroll. I'm so sorry.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
So maximum students are from pre-final, followed by second prof, and then we have final year interns and first prof have equal representation. So great. Thank you so much. So can we start? I would
Yes, ma'am.
request all of you to make yourself available for this half an hour to 45 minutes for the next 10 weeks so that we can start from scratch, build on our concepts, have interactive lectures where we can actually, clear our doubts. So any of you, you're always welcome. The only thing is that we have stopped your audios and videos here so that there is no disturbance, but you're open to post anything you want on the WhatsApp group. All your queries will be answered at the end of the session. I would like to take a very brief and crisp session today. And if at all it is possible, we will be covering 2 subjects. If not, we will cover 1 and we can switch on to the 11th lecture also later on if we feel that we are, falling short of time. Okay. So introduction to statistics. We will go very briefly. Many of the slides you will just see, I'll scroll through them, but the important things I'm really going to describe and discuss in detail. So what is statistics? Statistics is the science of figures. What does the field of statistics include? It includes methods for gathering data, for summarizing data, and inference and making inferences from those data. Okay. So what do we do is we gather data. For example, I can take a poll and ask all of you, which mobile phone do you use, right? So I'm gathering data from all 65 participants. Then what do? I summarize my data. This is what Aradhya did in the poll right now, right? He gathered data from you. You saw the summary in the form of those bar graphs, the blue lines that you could see, right? Those are actually bar graphs. And then we make an inference out of it. What I saw from the inference is that a lot of students are from ASCOMs and GMC Jammu, right? So we make inferences from our data. Now, what is biostatistics? Biostatistics is the collection, organization, presentation, analysis, and interpretation of numerical information. Okay. So what is it? It is collecting data, organizing your data, presenting your data in the forms of tables, graphs, etc., analyzing your data and making interpretations out of that data. For example, you have to infer what you get from your data. Because the factors that affect human health are various, biostatistics is an umbrella term that encompasses statistical research in several areas. Okay. These areas include anatomy, physiology, pharmacology, medicine, biotechnology, biology, genetics, and public health. So biostatistics is the term which is used when tools of statistics are applied to data that is derived from medicine. We'll go through the commonly used terms. The first term that I want you to know is what is a variable. Variable is a characteristic that takes on different values in different people, places, and things. It is a quantity that varies within limits, such as height, weight, BP, age, etc. Okay. Constant. A constant is a quantity that does not vary, such as you know of a very popular constant, pi. The value of pi is 3.141. In biostatistics, mean, standard deviation, standard error, all are considered constants. Observation. An event and its measurement, such as BP, is the event, and 120 mm mercury is the measurements. So the event along with the measurement is called an observation. What is an observational unit? The source that gives observations, that is the subject, is the observational unit. Okay. Data. A set of values recorded on one or more observational units is called data. Raw data. Data that is collected in original form is raw data. Frequency. The number of times a certain value or class of value occurs in a data set. Okay, that is called frequency. Frequency distribution. The organization of raw data in table form with classes and frequencies is called frequency distribution. For example, the following numbers are marks stored by 20 students in a test. You can see the marks here. What are these marks? These are data points, right? Prepare an ungrouped frequency table for the data. Right now, you're not going to do the ungrouping of this, frequency table or drawing the frequency table. What I want you to know is what exactly is frequency. What is the variable here? The variable here is marks scored. What are we talking about? We are talking about the marks scored. What is the observation unit or the unit of observation? The students, right? These things you have to know because whenever you do your thesis or any project, anyone, who's analyzing your data is always going to ask you, what are the variables that are there in your study, okay? So you have to know the names of your variables. And many times what happens is the students get confused. They don't know what variables are being used, right? So what is the variable in this particular study? The following numbers are marks scored by 20 students in a test. So what is the variable here? The variable is marks scored. And what is the unit of observation? The unit of observation is students. Now, for example, you see that 5, it comes up how many times? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times. You can see 5, right? So 4 tally marks are drawn for 5 and the frequency is written here. So what does frequency mean? Frequency means the number of times a particular event is occurring in your data. Okay, the event here is what? 5 marks. Now, for example, 6 marks. 6 marks is appearing 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, you can see the cross here. 1, 2, and 3. So we draw 3 tally marks for 6 and write the frequency as 3. So you have to understand what is the variable that we are studying here. The variable is marks scored. What is the unit of observation? The unit of observation is students. And what is the frequency? The frequency is the number of times your event or the marks, they appear in your data set. Okay. The ages of 30 occupants in a house were recorded as follows. These are the ages which have been recorded in a particular house or a hostel, whatever you would like to call it, using equal class intervals 0 to 9, 10 to 19, 20 to 29. Prepare a group frequency table for the data. This is something we are going to do in the third class. I'll tell you how to prepare group frequency tables. But right now, what we want to talk about is what exactly is the variable we are talking about here. What is the variable? The variable is age, right? Now, what is the unit of observation? Occupants in the house. So first of all, whenever you are given a raw data, you have to understand and you have to tell the biostatistician what is the variable that you have studied in your thesis or project, whatever. And what is the unit of your observation? The unit of observation here is occupants in a house, okay? Now, again, this is a group frequency table. 0 to 9 years, right? 10 to 19, 20 to 29, 30 to 39, 40 to 49, okay? We draw the tally marks here. You can see the tally marks and we can write the frequency in front of those tally marks. So what is the frequency telling you? The frequency is telling you how many times. Just a second, Vita. Give me a moment, sorry. Radha, am I visible now? I'm so sorry, I forgot to, switch on the video. Am I
Yes,
visible?
ma'am, you're
Okay,
visible,
fine,
ma'am.
fine. Just a second, please. Okay. Is the slide visible?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So the frequency is given against the age, right? Now we talk about data points. What is a data point? A data point is a value assigned to a variable. For example, patient is the observational unit. He might have a systolic blood pressure, which is the variable, of 120 mm of mercury, which is the data point, right? So all these three things have to be identified by the person who is collecting data. So which is the observational unit? The patient. He might have a systolic blood pressure, which is the variable that we are talking about, of 120 millimeter of mercury, which is your data point, okay? And the event along with the data point, that is the variable, along with the data point is called what? It is called observation, okay? Right. Say we want to test the effectiveness of levothyroxine for treatment of hypothyroidism in Indian subjects between the ages of 18 to 24. Now, what is the observational unit here? Indian subjects between the ages of 18 to 24. Those are your observational units in this particular study. It will be physically impossible to find every individual aged 18 to 24 years in India with hypothyroidism and collect their data. However, we can collect data from a representative sample of the population. Effectiveness of levothyroxine may be calculated by measuring TSH levels, thyroid stimulating hormone levels, before and after treatment. In this particular example, TSH level, that is thyroid stimulating hormone level, would be a variable, and the actual numerical value for each patient would represent individual data points, okay? Population. Now, what is a population? Population is a term statisticians use to describe a large set of collection of items that have something in common. A population consists of all elements, individuals, items, or objects whose characteristics are being studied. In medicine, population generally refers to patients or living organisms. The population being studied is also called the target population, okay? Sampling unit. Each member of a population is called a sampling unit. What is a sample? A portion of the population selected for study is referred to as the sample. For example, our objective is to estimate the average weight of under 5 children enrolled in all preschools of J&K. If we collect data for analysis the weight of only a part of our population of preschoolers, we have a sample. It is never possible to, sample each and every individual in the population. So you always have to have a representative sample and then take those parameters for analysis, okay? Now, what is a representative sample? A representative sample contains the characteristics of the population as closely as possible. For example, look at the map of US, right? This is the theoretical population where we want to generalize our data. This is the small circle that you see. This is your study population. Now, how do you gather data from the study population? What do? You take a sampling frame. For example, this could be a telephone directory. It could be an address directory. And you take phone numbers from here. And then you sample people. So the directory that you're using is called the sampling frame. This is the sample that you have studied. So the people who are participating in your study, these people, right, that you see here, this is the sample. How can you get access to them? In the sampling directory. This is the sampling frame. What population you get access to? This is the study population. And then this is the theoretical population where your findings are going to be generalized. Now, what is a parameter? A descriptive measure derived from a population is called a parameter. Usually, we do not know the value of the parameter and we can never know the value of a parameter. For example, if we are doing the average weight of all under 5 children in J&K, you're never going to get all under 5 children in J&K. So what do? We take a representative sample and we do the averages. We calculate the averages. So it is always impossible to calculate the population parameter. Usually, we do not know the value of the parameter. Consequently, we are estimating it from a sample. For example, if we want to know the mean age of all Egyptian bladder cancer cases, this mean will be calculated from information collected from all bladder cancer cases in Egypt, which is totally impossible. You can never come across each and every person who is having bladder cancer, okay, in a particular country. Now, what is a statistic? The descriptive measure derived from a sample is called a statistic. For example, if we want to know the mean of age of all Egyptian bladder cancer cases, we take a portion of bladder cancer cases and calculate the mean age, and that is reflected on the entire population, or the word here is generalized to the entire population, okay? Sources, types, and presentation of data. We have a separate, lecture on this, so we are not going to delve into the details right now. We can do experiments, we can do surveys and records, right? I'm not going into the details here. I just want you to know two terms here. One is what is primary data and what is secondary data. Data that is directly obtained from an individual is called primary data. For example, census 2001, 2011, and data obtained from external sources is called secondary data, okay? I'll just give you an example. If you conduct a survey, an interview, focus group discussion, or an experiment, the data that you get directly from the individual, that is going to be called your primary data. And whenever you do websites, journals, literature reviews, case reports, original articles, manuscripts, anything else, the data that you get from there is your secondary data, okay? Whenever you're doing an research all by yourself, you have patients, you're calculating weight, height, age, BMI, anything, the data that you obtained is your primary data always, okay? Now, the main part of today's presentation is please try to understand, and if you do not understand anything, you can raise your hand. What is a variable, okay? We know what a variable is. We went through the definition of a variable. The thing that we are talking about in our study, the thing that is being measured in your study is a variable. We have two types of variables. It is very important to understand these two types of variables because the type of variables is the basis of your understanding in statistics, okay? Now, there are two types of variables. We have categorical variables. I'm going to go a little slow here. These categorical variables are also called qualitative variables, and we have numerical variables. The numerical variables are also called quantitative variables, okay? Right. Now, the qualitative variable or qualitative data is of three types. It can either be nominal or ordinal or dichotomous, that is binary data. The second type of data is numerical data. Always remember, this data is also called quantitative data, okay? You can quantify this data, and it is of two types. We have continuous data and discrete data. I'm going to repeat this slide, okay? We have two types of data. We have qualitative data. It is also called categorical data. And we have quantitative data, which is also called numerical data. Now, qualitative data is of three types. We have nominal data, ordinal data, and dichotomous or binary data. Then we have quantitative data, which is again of two types. We have continuous data and discrete data. Okay. Now, what is a nominal categorical data? Categorical is the synonym for qualitative data. So nominal categorical data, these are data points that either represent words, that is yes or no, or concepts which have no mathematical value. For example, the ethnicity of a person. I am Indian, someone else sitting in my room could be Chinese, someone could be, Burmese, someone could be Sri Lankan. So it has no mathematical value. It is just a concept which has a name. So as the name suggests, nominal, always remember, nominal starts with N. And what you have to remember, it is just a name, okay? For example, we have males and females, just a name. I'm female, someone else is a male, right? Wherever you come across only a name, it is nominal data. My profession, I might be a doctor by profession. You are right now students by profession, okay? We might have administrators by profession. We might have, so many different kinds of professions here, businessmen, shopkeepers, so and so forth, so on and so forth. So all of these are just names. Anything which gives you only the name is nominal data, okay? For example, blood groups. My blood group could be O positive, yours could be A positive, AB positive. These are again just names. So ethnicity I've already discussed. So all these kinds of data points which give you only names are called nominal categorical data. Okay. Now we come to binary categorical data. Data points which can take only two values. Either I am alive or I am dead. There is nothing in between. Okay. I could be a smoker or I could be a non-smoker. I could be a literate or a illiterate, right? I could be employed, I could be unemployed. There is nothing in between. So data points which can take only two values, for example, smoker, dead, alive, literate, illiterate, are called binary categorical data. They can also be called dichotomous data, okay? Ordinal data. If categorical data has some natural order or a logical ranking to the data points, it is termed ordinal categorical data. That is, they can be placed in some increasing or decreasing order. For example, we have something which is called a VAS scale, okay? I don't know if you've heard of it. The final year students could have heard of it. It is called visual analog scale, okay? It is a pain scale in which you ask the patient, how can you quantify your pain? For example, if someone suffers from a fracture, okay, you start asking the patient, aapko kitna dard hai? Okay, the patient will tell you, okay, mujhe bahut dard hai. Now what we do is we try to quantify the pain. We ask him on a scale of 1 to 10, can you just quantify what is the extent of your pain? This is called a VAS scale, okay? And pain score, when it is quantified from 1 to 10, on a VAS scale, that is called ordinal data because you're ordering data, okay? For example, if I say that after a fall, I'm experiencing pain at the level of score 5, which means moderate, right? Na bahut zyada, na bahut kam, right? If someone else who has a fracture, I ask him, what is the amount of pain that you're experiencing on a scale of 1 to 10? And he says 9, which means it gives me an indication that the person is suffering from excruciating pain, okay? And if someone has a fall and I ask him, kitna dard hai? He says 1. That means very mild pain. So we just get a knack of, what is the kind of pain the person is experiencing. Now, whenever we order our data in some rank, it is called ordinal data. But again, remember, this ordinal data is again categorical data or also called quantitative data. Fine. Now we talk about quantitative data, which is also called numerical data. It is of two types. We have discrete data and we have continuous data. Okay. First, we'll talk about discrete data. Values, as the name implies, as little islands which are not connected, no land in between them. I'll just elaborate on this. Think of a roll of a die. With a normal 6-sided die, you cannot roll a 3.5. For example, whenever we are playing, snakes and ladders or Ludo, what do? We roll a die. Anyone will say, I'm getting a number between 1 and 6. No one is going to say, I got a 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, or a 5.5, right? So what is the literal meaning of discrete data? It says there is no land in between them. They're like little islands which are not connected and fractions are not possible. Look what I've written here. Discrete data, simple terms mein, is that data in which there are no fractions. Fractionation is not possible, okay? Think of a roll of a die again. And you can always appreciate that whenever you are playing Ludo, it will always be between 1 and 6. There is no possibility that you can get a fraction here. Okay. Now we talk about continuous data. In continuous data, a very simple way to remember is decimals are possible, fractions are possible. Numerical values, on the other hand, have for practical purposes many values in between other values. They are infinitely divisible within reasonable limits. For example, I have a weighing machine which measures up to, मान लीजिए my weight is around 60 kg, right? I get on that machine and it is sensitive. I'm not using the word very sensitive here. It is sensitive. It brings in my weight as 6.2. I get on another machine and the weight on that machine is 6.208. I get on another machine and the weight in that machine is 60.20856. Okay. This is the type of data which is infinitely divisible depending on the sensitivity of the instrument or the tool that you are using to capture your data. Okay. So decimals are possible. Okay. For example, you're doing a height estimation. Height is possible in decimals. For example, 5 feet, 10 inches, and so many centimeters, 5.2, 5.4, 5.8, right? So decimals are possible in continuous data, but they are not possible in discrete data. I'll have a few examples again. Qualitative data is categorical data. The first type is dichotomous data. It is also called binary data. It takes only two values. Always remember the word binary means only two values, right? Either yes or no, dead, alive, employed, unemployed, having heart disease, not having heart disease, male or female. So it can only take two values. Ordinal data. Whenever you talk about socioeconomic status of a person, it could be high, it could be medium, it could be low. For example, your BMI category, right? You could be underweight, you could be normal weight, you could be overweight, you could be obese. So all this kind of data where you can describe your data in terms of categories or you can rank your data, it comes under the category of ordinal data. Then we talk about nominal data. Nominal data, always remember, N for nominal, N for name. Any name in your data set is nominal. For example, where do you live? I live in Gandhinagar, you live in Talab Tillo, someone else lives in Araspura, all names, right? For example, residency place could be center, north, south, east, west of Jammu, right? So all of these are names, hence the name nominal data. Then we talk about civil status. I could be single, married, widowed, divorced, free union. So there are so many categories, but again, these are not ranked. So this is not ordinal data. This is nominal data, just names, right? Then we talk about quantitative data. Like I can ask many of you, how many offsprings, how many siblings? Let's talk about siblings here. What is the number of siblings that you have? You will say one sibling, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. No one will say, I have 1.5 siblings or 2.5 or 2.3. So discrete data does not allow you to do any fractions. Decimals are not allowed. It is always a whole number. Continuous data, glucose in blood level could be 110.2. It could be 110.4, depending on the sensitivity of your glucometer, okay? So continuous data can be divisible into fractions and decimals, but discrete data there is no option for decimals. Let's do a few more examples. Smoker or non-smoker? Family history of heart disease, yes or no? Non-smoker, light smoker, moderate smoker, heavy smoker. I want you to go through these examples very closely and see what is the difference. Age groups, child 0 to 12 years, adolescent 13 to 18 years, adult 19 to 59, and senior adult or senior citizen 60 years and above. Number of cigarettes smoked, BMI in, that is kgs per meter square, age in years, and weight in kg. Can you see any similarity here? Smoker or non-smoker? The variable here is smoking, right? When the variable is smoking, the data could be binary because you're only discussing two categories here. Either you're a smoker or you're a non-smoker. But then look at this portion. Non-smoker, light smoker, moderate smoker, and heavy smoker. Again, the variable is smoking, but here your data is not binary. It is what? It is ordinal because now it is ranked from non-smoker to heavy smoker again. Now, if you talk about number of cigarettes smoked, I could be, smoking 5 cigarettes in a day. Someone else could be smoking 10 in a day, 10 and a half in a day. 20 and a half in a day. So again, smoking is the same variable here, but now your data is quantitative. It is no longer qualitative. So it is never like, don't ever cram up things. Smoking is a variable and the data will always be binary. No, it will not be binary. Your data will depend upon how you are representing your data, or in other words, how you're collecting data. If I'm giving you a questionnaire which says you have only two options, either you are a smoker or a non-smoker, please, tick the correct option. I'm not giving you the option of ordinal data. I'm giving you only binary options. So you get to binary data. Whenever I'm giving you this option, non-smoker, light smoker, moderate smoker, or heavy smoker, what happens is you fall into the category of ordinal data. For example, age. I ask each one of you present in the class today, what is your age? You will give me a number. When you give me a number, that is quantitative data. But again, what do? I start grouping it into, say, we cannot, quantify your age into like say 10-year age intervals, maybe like 17 to 18, 18 to 20, 20 to 22, right? Now what do? I form categories here. The same age data now becomes categorical data, okay? Right. So it is very important for you to understand that any data, it depends on you, how you are studying that data. If you're taking a number, that is simply quantitative. If you're dividing that number, for example, if I'm taking only your BMI, right, in kgs per meter square, which is a unit for BMI, this is right now only quantitative, continuous data. Why continuous? Because it is in decimals. So it is continuous data. But if I ask you, are you underweight? Are you overweight? Are you normal weight? Or are you obese? This same data now becomes what? It becomes ordinal. Okay. I could ask a patient to rate the severity of the pain they experience after surgery on a scale of 0 to 10. We were talking about the VAS few minutes back. These are numbers, but they do not represent numerical data. These are numbers again, but these are ordinal data. I can never say that a patient who chooses a 6 on a pain scale has twice as much pain as someone who chooses 3. There is no fixed difference between each of these numbers. They are not quantifiable. As such, they represent only categorical values. And so this kind of data is not continuous or discrete. Some of you might feel that when I'm telling you that I'm having a pain of 3, this is discrete data. No, it is on a ranking scale of 1 to 10 that the pain is 3. So it is not quantifiable that way. So this type of data is not numerical data. This type of data is ordinal categorical data. Okay. Again, we distinguish numerical number values from categorical number values in that there is a fixed difference between them. For example, the difference between 3 and 4 is exact same difference as between 101 and 102, right? In other words, a distinguishing characteristic of continuous data is that a 1 unit change in the value means the same thing across the entire range of data values, okay? Now, data of variables is just a summary of what we have learned. Data of variables can be of two types. We have quantitative data and we have qualitative data. First, we'll talk about qualitative data. It's slightly easier. It is only descriptive. Good, bad, soft, hard, black, white, yellow, orange. Only names here, okay? So what kind of data is this? This is nominal data, okay? For example, male, female, dichotomous data, religion, nominal data, color, nominal data, behavior, nominal data, personality, again, nominal data, day and night, dichotomous data, alive and dead, binary or dichotomous data, good or bad, again, binary or dichotomous data. So this is all about qualitative data. The main thing which is used in analysis in biostatistics is quantitative data, okay? Now, quantitative data is of two types. We have continuous data and discrete data. Always remember, discrete data is whole numbers. Usually, you can only count the discrete data. For example, number of family members. There are no halves. There are no fractions. There are no decimals. Pulse rate, it is 72 beats per minute, normal. It could be 100, tachycardia. It could be bradycardia, 60, less than 60, but there are no decimals, right? Number of chairs in a room. You cannot say there are 3.5 chairs lying in a particular room. There are 3.5 tables lying in a particular room. So this is discrete data, okay? We talk about continuous data. Continuous data is that data which can be represented in the form of fractions, okay? For example, 165.6 centimeter could be someone's height. Age, height, weight, BMI, systolic blood pressure, diastolic blood pressure, hemoglobin, electrolytes, sodium, potassium, calcium, examination score, anxiety score, all of this is continuous data, okay? Now, time for a poll. Radhya, can we have the poll here just to see how much the students have understood?
Yes, ma'am, I'll share the first poll right away. Okay, ma'am, the poll is live. Guys, you can mark the correct answers for this.
Yeah. Which of the following variables is a continuous quantitative variable? Please mark the word continuous here, not discrete, but continuous and quantitative. Go ahead, all of you, try to answer the question so that we know how much you have understood.
I'll give it 10 more seconds for this poll.
Yeah.
Those who are left to answer, kindly do it. Okay, ma'am, I'll end the poll now.
Okay, Aradhya, let the screen be seen by all, okay? See, favorite food. 6 out of 52 students have written that favorite fruit is a continuous quantitative variable. It is not. Why? Because name of the fruit that you like most, your favorite fruit is a name. So what is it? It is a nominal data, right? It is a name. I could be in love with mangoes. You could love bananas. Someone else could love oranges. So these are all names. So this one is crossed out. Gender, male or female. Again, name. So it is nominal. Nominal, categorical, or qualitative data. The question asks which of the following variables is a continuous quantitative variable? Decade of birth. I could be born in 1980, someone else in 1990, the decade of 1990. So what happens is it is not continuous. There are no decimals in between, right? The decade itself is a 10-year period. So it is a discrete data. Age of mother at first birth. The mother's age could be 19 years, 20 years, 25 years, 25.5 years, 25.2 years. It is continuous quantitative. What does that mean? Decimals are possible. Occupation. I am a doctor, you're a student, right? Someone else could be a businessman. So what is the take here? The take is you have to understand all names, fruits, genders, decade of birth, and occupation. These are all names. So these are already crossed out because these are what kind of data? Nominal data. Only the age of mother, which maximum 50% of the students have understood. What exactly is continuous quantitative data? The age of mother at first birth is the right answer. Okay. We can stop sharing now. Let's go to the next question. Which of the following variables is a nominal, categorical, or qualitative variable? Favorite food, BMI, decade of birth, age at first birth, and age. Good. All of you try to participate. This is purely anonymous. Don't worry. This is just for your and my understanding so that we can proceed with a, good base and background.
Okay, I'll be closing this poll in another 10 seconds.
So nice, everyone is participating. Great.
Ma'am, these are the results for this poll.
Nice. See, Which of the following variables is a nominal categorical variable? Most of you, 77% of you got it right. Favorite fruit is a nominal variable because I just told you, you have a name for your favorite fruit. Wherever there is a name, that is a nominal variable. Okay, it is also called categorical or qualitative. I'm repeating these names because what happens is sometimes it mentions qualitative, sometimes it mentions categorical, sometimes nominal. You have to know that all three are synonyms. Okay, you don't get confused. Now, BMI. BMI bete is not a nominal categorical variable. Why? Because BMI has not been grouped. Yes, it could be nominal. If you just, it could never be nominal. Actually, it could be ordinal categorical if we have categories of BMI. But if simply BMI of a person is mentioned and the category has not been mentioned, you can assume that this is only in kg per meter square. For example, my BMI could be 23. So 23 is a number. It is not categorical. It is something which can be quantified. So it is a quantitative numerical variable. Decade of birth again is not a nominal variable, although it could be taken, but it is not as good as a nominal variable as is a favorite fruit. Okay. Then we have age at first birth. It's just a number. Age at first birth of the mother could be 19 years, 20 years, 13 years, 14 years. It is a discrete variable. Okay. Discrete, numerical and quantitative variable. And then age again is quantitative. So the right answer is favorite fruit. Okay. Next. You have to have an understanding of this before we proceed to complex analysis. Okay. In a questionnaire, patients are asked to rate their agreement with a statement on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 means not agreeing at all, and 5 refers to total agreement. Results are tabulated under the variable name responses to statement A. Data type is ordinal, discrete, nominal, internal. Go ahead, give your responses.
I'll be ending this poll in another 10 seconds.
Okay, so we
And
have
these
the
are the
answers,
results.
right? Most of you have answered correctly. Yes, it is ordinal data. See, there is a ranking. Not agreeing at all, not agreeing at all, somewhat agreeing, neutral, partially agreeing, and total agreement. So we are ranking your data. Okay. Whenever this type of scale is called a Likert scale, always remember, you should know what is a Likert scale. A Likert scale is a scale where a survey is done and 5, 3, or 7 options are given. For example, starting from, one extreme end to the other extreme end, which in this case is 1 means not agreeing at all. 5 means total agreement. Okay. So in this kind of data where there is ranking, आपको कोई चीज बिल्कुल पसंद नहीं आ रही है, थोड़ी आ रही है, आप न्यूट्रल हैं, आपको अच्छी लग रही है, बहुत अच्छी लग रही है. ओके. Whenever there is some kind of ranking in your data, that kind of data is called what? That is ordinal data. Okay. So this is ordinal. What is the category? Ordinal categorical data or ordinal qualitative data. This is not discrete data because there are no names here. Please look at the ranks. You have been asked to rate the agreement with a statement on a scale of 1 to 5. There is no name here. Okay. That is the reason this type of data is ordinal data, not discrete. Again, no nominal data, no discrete data, no internal, external, nothing. So the answer is ordinal data. Okay. Next question, please. A variable for the absence or presence of wound infection is created in a data collection table. Investigators only note either yes or no for each participant. This type of value is called, remember, only 2 values, yes or no. There is no third option here.
Okay, ma'am, I'm closing the poll for this one.
Yeah, most of you have got it right. 93% of the students have got it right. It is binary categorical. I'll keep using the word binary in all my sessions. Whenever I use the word binary, you have to understand that there are only two categories. The third category is not allowed, okay? Either you are present in the session or you're absent. There is no third category, okay? A variable for the presence or absence of wound infection is created. Investigators only note wound infection hai ke nahi hai. That is it. No third option available, okay, for anyone. So this is binary categorical. It is not ordinal. Why is it not ordinal? Because there is no ranking. Yes or no. Third option है ही नहीं. Interval और ratio है ही नहीं क्योंकि ये numbers ही नहीं है. Yes or no है, right? So there is no quantitative data. This is all qualitative data, okay? Next. Okay. Continuous data has infinite possibilities of subdivisions, cannot be subdivided, has a finite set of values, has 10 values. Remember, quantitative data is of two types, discrete and continuous. Discrete cannot be divided, continuous can be divided into infinite numbers depending on the sensitivity of the tool that you're using. It just depends on the scale that you're using. My bathroom scale or my weighing scale could be very, very accurate. It could give me, decimals right from 9 to 10 decimals after the whole number. Okay, so most of you have got it right. It has infinite possibilities of subdivisions. It can be subdivided. Continuous data can be subdivided, okay? It has a finite set of values. No, it has infinite set of values. No 10 values, okay? Radhe, are we done or we have another question left? I think one question is left, right?
Ma'am, we have just one question left.
Yeah, just one question. Which of the following would be classified as a continuous data measure? Disease status, disease or no disease, gender identity, male, female, non-binary, trans, etc. Degree of agreement on a 5-point scale. Expenditures in US dollars incurred during the last inpatient visit to a hospital. Which of the following would be classified as a continuous data measure? The first one is not. It is a binary, qualitative, categorical data. Then we have gender identity, again, ordinal data here because we have so many categories, male, female, non-binary, trans, etc. Degree of agreement on a 5-point scale. We did this in the last example. This is an ordinal kind of data on a Likert scale, which is ordinal categorical. Expenditures in US dollars incurred during your last inpatient visit to the hospital. 85% have answered it correctly. Yes, this is a continuous data. I could be spending $100, $105, $105.3, $105.9 during the last inpatient visit to a hospital. So the right answer is expenditures in US dollars, okay? I'll get back to my presentation, right?
Sure, ma'am, sure.
Is the full screen visible?
No, ma'am, you're not on slideshow right now. You could just share it.
Just a second. I'll
Sure.
just share this again. Is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay, fine. So based on this kind of data, ordinal data, nominal data, we talk about levels of measurement now. The slide has stopped moving. It is hanged. Just a second. I'll share again. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible. It's just
Okay.
not on slideshow right now.
I'm not putting it on slideshow. It is hanging on the slideshow. Is this visible right now like this?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay,
It's
we'll just do
visible.
it like this only, okay? So there are 4 levels of measurement: nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. Now I want to introduce 2 words here. One is interval and the other is ratio. These are actually scales of measurement, okay? Nominal data, you know, are data that are coded by a number or a name. For example, gender could be male, female. Treatment reference could be manipulation, mobilization, massage. Yes or no are two categories of any answer or responses. All of this is nominal data, starts with N. Remember, it's a name, okay, or a number, right? Number in the sense 1 or 2. You can code, you know, your data. For example, the responses which have been obtained as yes are given a number 1 in the Excel sheet. The answers which are obtained as no are coded as 2 in the Excel sheet. I will talk about this later. So it could be just a number which is coded, a name or a letter. Okay. Then you know what is ordinal data. I'll not go into the details again. I think we are already late. Now, interval data. Interval data, the measurements are ordered like ordinal data. They have equal intervals. All you have to remember for the sake of your MCQ exam also, and otherwise also, that interval does not have a true zero. Interval data does not have a true zero, okay? Examples, the Fahrenheit scale, where 0 degree does not correspond to an absence of heat. Whenever you see the temperature 0 on a Fahrenheit scale, it does not mean that there is no heat at all. There is some temperature, but the temperature reading on your scale is 0. It is not a true 0. In contrast to Kelvin thermometer, it does have a true 0. It is just a very classical example of, interval and ratio data, which is given in all the books. That interval data does not have a true 0. You have to remember this, that Kelvin thermometer is a classical example of a kind of thermometer which does have a true 0. Okay. With interval data, the difference between each value is the same. For example, the difference between 1 and 2 degrees Celsius is the same as the difference between 3 and 4 degrees Celsius. There is a 1 degree difference. However, temperatures expressed in degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit do not have a true 0, because 0 degrees Celsius is not a true 0. It does not mean that there is no temperature. Yes, there is some temperature, but you cannot just feel it. This means that with numerical interval data like temperature, we can order the data. We can add and subtract, but we cannot divide and multiply the data. We can't do ratios without a true 0. 10 degree plus 10 degree is 20 degree. But 20 degrees is not twice as hot as 10 degrees. Okay. This is something which is very subjective. 10 degrees plus 10 degrees is 20 degrees. But 20 degrees is not twice as hot as 10 degrees. Okay. Now, what is ratio? See, RATIO. The O here is in red color. Always remember, if you cannot remember otherwise, remember that ratio scale has a true 0 because there is a 0 in RATIO. Okay. Just for remembering. Measurements have equal intervals. There is a true 0. True 0 is red here. The O is again red here in ratio, so that you always remember that interval does not have a true 0, but a ratio scale does have a true 0. We'll see the examples and then you'll understand. Ratio is the most advanced level of measurement, which can handle most types of mathematical operations. This type applies to data that have a true 0, which means you can establish a very meaningful relationship between the data points as related to the 0 value. For example, age from birth. There is something called 0 day. A child is just born. He's not 1 day old as yet. Okay. So he is on day 0. White blood cell count. A person who is dead might show a WBC count of 0. Okay. A systolic blood pressure of 200 mm of mercury is indeed twice as high as a pressure of 100 mm mercury. ठीक है? For example, a patient comes to you and you tell him that आपका blood pressure double से भी ज़्यादा है, जितना होना चाहिए उससे double है. आप बोल सकते हैं, लेकिन आप interval data के लिए ऐसा नहीं बोल सकते हैं. Okay? Examples of ratio: no movement corresponds to 0 degree. This interval between 10 and 20 degrees is the same as that between 40 and 50 degrees. Okay. Lifting capacity. A person who is unable to lift scores 0. I lifted no weight today. So the true 0 is actually true. I actually did not lift any weight today. Okay. A person who lifts 30 kg can lift twice as much as the one who lifts 15 kg. So you can always quantify. In case of a ratio scale, the 0 is a true 0. There is something called 0 kg. right? But in case of a Celsius, the true zero was not true zero. The zero in a Celsius or a Fahrenheit scale is not true zero because it does not correspond to total absence of temperature or heat, okay? Now, types of data were numerical, right? Quantitative could be continuous and discrete, and categorical is qualitative, could be nominal, ordinal, dichotomous, okay? Another way of putting it is these three remain the same. Qualitative data is also called categorical data, classified into nominal names, ordinal categories or ranks. Dichotomous is yes or no, only two options, also called binary data. Now the continuous and the discrete data, they have an advanced name from now on. They will be called what? Interval and ratio scales. Interval not having a true zero, ratio having a true zero, okay? So types of data can also now be classified in a different way. Categorical data, same as qualitative. Numerical data, same as what? Quantitative, okay? And then categorical is of two types. We have nominal and ordinal. Also dichotomous could be a third type. And numerical is again of two types. Instead of continuous and discrete, now what have I written? I have written interval and ratio. Interval is having no true zero. Ratio is having one true zero, okay? Now, NOIR is a mnemonic to help remember the names and order of the levels of measurement. NOIR. You start with the simplest, which is nominal data, followed by ordinal data, followed by interval data, which does not have a true zero, and then ratio data, which is amenable to all kinds of statistical analysis. Okay. Again, just to summarize, nominal data only gives you attributes which can be named. It is the weakest form of data. Ordinal data, only counting is possible in nominal data. For example, I might take a poll and ask you, all of you, what is your blood group? Okay. Now you can only tell me your blood group and I can do what? I can only calculate the proportion of each blood group in this class, right? It can only be named. The attribute can only be named, right? And the weakest kind of data is nominal data. This is followed by ordinal data, in which the attributes can be ordered. Interval data, the distance is meaningful, and ratio is absolute zero. Okay. I think we are done. And if you have any questions, you're most welcome. Just one slide I want you to see. This slide. Just to summarize what we've done today. Nominal categorical data, naming and describing is possible and only counting is possible. You can count the number of males and females in the class today. Ordinal categorical, some ordering or natural ranking is possible. For example, how many students of first prof, how many second prof, how many third, how many fourth, how many interns. So some kind of ranking is possible. The data if we get by prof wise, that is going to be ordinal data. Then we have interval numerical data. There are meaningful increments of difference, for example, temperature, and ratio or numerical data, which is of ratio type, can establish a baseline relationship between the data with absolute zero. For example, no age when a child is born, no speed when you're not driving as yet, okay? Why do we need to spend time distinguishing data? You have to use different statistical texts for different types of data. It just sums it up here. No need to read this sentence. You have to use different statistical tests for different types of data. If from today's class, you're able to identify the different types of data, you will be very well in a position to apply different types of different types of statistical tests when we come to it for different types of data. So the whole purpose of teaching you these categories of data was what? So that you're in a position to apply different types of statistical tests. Because the first step in applying a statistical test is what? Identifying what type of data you're dealing with. Okay, thank you so much. I'm done. Any questions you can put up in the WhatsApp group. Even after the class, I can, answer your questions. I think we have taken some extra time, I guess. Radhya, I'm done, beta.
Yes, ma'am. I'll just invite Ananya for this, for wrapping up the session.
Ananya, I think you're not audible.
Hello.
Yes.
Go ahead, Ananya, you're audible now.
Okay. So thank you all for joining us today. I hope you found our discussion both informative and engaging. A special thanks to Dr. Bhavna for her wonderful session. Now we will open the floor for any questions that you may have. You can raise your hand or you can send queries in the WhatsApp group. So we have got a question on WhatsApp. How is biostatistics going to help us publish a research article?
Excuse me, Bhavna, ma'am, we have a question. Like one of the these attendees, he or
Yes.
she texted me on my WhatsApp regarding this question.
Okay. Right. So how is this session? These sessions, all of these sessions are going to be, the basics of your research articles later on. Believe me, the kind of, knowledge that you can gain and then build up on that knowledge is going to be instrumental for you in writing research papers later on, because research papers start with data, right? Whenever you're collecting data, you don't know what to do with it, right? So you run to biostatisticians and you run to clinicians and to public health experts to ask them what to do with this data. So if you're attending the sessions and learning biostatistics, you will know how to analyze your data, and not only analyze, you will know how to make inferences from your data. And when you start making inferences from your data, you will know how to write papers and how to read papers. The thing is, it does not end here that you're writing your paper. What we want you to do is, there's so many published articles, you have to understand what is, what is the crux of a particular manuscript. So whenever you have this basic, this is very basic, whatever we are doing today and in the next 10 sessions, these are very basic things. This is just a conceptual understanding of how you read and write. Not only write, read papers also, because it is very important to understand what research says. There is so much of research going on, but if you do not know what is a variable, what is a statistical test that has been applied, what is the p-value, what is the inference from a particular research, you will not be able to write your own research, and you will not be able to infer what has been done by other people. So it is very, very important that your basics are correct. We just are giving you a conceptual understanding of what is a variable, what is a population, what is a data point, right? What is a quantitative variable, what is a qualitative variable, so that you know what the researchers are talking about. Otherwise, everything is just, a different language for you. You will not be able to understand unless you have a conceptual understanding of the different terms here, right? And as we proceed towards the end of the sessions, you will know how this unfolds into writing manuscripts as well, okay?
Okay, ma'am, thank you so much.
Mm.
And do you have
I just
any
want to
other
make one request, Aradhya. Can I just say something? All of you who are present here today, I would just want to make one request.
Sure, ma'am, sure. Ma'am.
Yeah, try
Sure,
not
ma'am.
to miss any session, because what happens is we build up with each session. Today we've done the basic terms. Next time we will be doing visualization of data. You will know what is a bar graph, how to draw a bar graph, right? How to use, softwares to draw bar graphs. Again, we will be doing, tabulation of data. What is a one-way table, a two-way table? What is a row? What is a column? These are basic, very, very, very basic things, which are actually, we take it as you all know it when you come to us for analysis. But the irony is that students don't know what is a table, what is a row, what is a column. So this is just basic information. Try not to miss any session. Just be there. Don't do anything. Just sit there. You will learn something. Okay. Each session builds up on the previous one. So if you go with the flow, by the end of the 10th session, you will know what we have to offer. Okay.
So, any more questions?
Yes, Vandana, do we have any other questions?
Sir, not
You can
as
just
of
raise
now.
your hands regarding. Okay, that's